Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my bookish life. Today I want to check in on my reading for the first half of July. So let's get to it. I did not get a weekly check-in yet, but it is the 15th of July today, so I thought I would just do a mid-month check-in and try to get myself caught up. We'll see how it works. So far in the month of July, I have finished 7 books, and they have been great. I really have had a wonderful start to the month with my reading. It has been fabulous, and I cannot wait to talk about all of these books. So the first book that I finished was I Will Always Write Back: How One Letter Changed 2 Lives, and that's by Caitlin Alafrenka and Martin Ganda. This is a nonfiction book. It's a true story about Caitlin doing a class project where she had to send a letter to another country, and her teacher had listed out the countries she could choose from, and she sent her letter off to Zimbabwe because it sounded cool. Martin was the receiver of said letter, and he wrote back, and the school that he went to provided the first stamp for him, but after that he had to find a way to afford it on his own, and he was living in a very impoverished area, but it was important to him that he nurture this new friendship that they had created, that they found, and he asked questions about her culture, she asked questions about his culture, and it really did change both of them, that they were sending these letters back and forth. And Caitlin decided to send him $1 so he could see what a United States dollar looked like. $1 US paid for 3 weeks of his family's groceries, and it changed his life in a financial way, it changed his life in a social way, and eventually the two formed the richest friendship, and it's absolutely beautiful. I loved it so much. It was such a great read. One of my friends in Silent Book Club recommended it, and it was perfect. It was the perfect read. It was the perfect book to just make you realize the situation of others, the situations you find yourself in, and I just absolutely loved it, and I am putting it on my list to add to my classroom because it's great. It's just so good. The next book that I finished was Flying Solo by Ralph Fletcher. This was an advanced listening copy from Libro FM's educator program, and originally this book was published in 1998, so I was a little confused when I saw it as an advanced listening copy. So it must have just recently been produced as an audiobook, and I never had read it before, but I love Ralph Fletcher. I saw Ralph Fletcher speak at a conference, and he just is a vibrant, excited person who just loves writing and loves sharing stories, and I absolutely have so much respect for Ralph Fletcher as an author. And so the fact that I had never read this book, I was like, all right, let's pick it up. And I listened to it, and this book is so good. It is wildly unbelievable. You need to suspend your disbelief. What happens is the most popular teacher is gone for the day. They have a sub, and the sub wakes up with a migraine, and she calls the school and tells the school that she is not feeling well and not able to come in, and the secretary writes it down. Somebody breezes into the office to complain about something, a parent, and the piece of paper that she wrote it down on falls to the floor. So nobody comes as a sub for the class. So the class flies solo. And it's told through a bunch of different points of view. All of these kids just trying to think, okay, so are we going to goof off and get a lot of attention because we're going to get found out, or we're going to do what we're supposed to do and then get to run the class basically all day, all by ourselves. And so they kind of like go back and forth this class, and they do things diplomatically. It really was kind of cool to listen to. It was funny. It was heartwarming. I just really loved it. One trigger might be that there is a classmate that recently passed away, and that is talked about quite often in the book. So that might be something that could be triggering. It's not like a graphic death or anything like that. It just is. And it's really, really just a beautiful, beautiful book. Highly recommend Flying Solo. I really, really enjoyed it. The next one that I read, that I finished, was Crimes and Confections by Catherine Bruns. This is the 14th book in the Cookies and Chance mystery series. I got it as an ARC from Gem Halliday Publishing, and this is literally one of my favorite series. Cozy mystery in the world. I love this series. Sally is such a wonderful main character. I love the supporting cast of characters around her. In this one, Sally's mom is in a beauty pageant and things go awry, and I just really loved it so much. It was a lot of fun. Just a fun little romping cozy, and I loved it. Next book that I finished was the ROM Commerce by Catherine Center. So excited to have this book. I picked up this book from my local bookstore, and my love for Catherine Center has not waned. I love her books. I love reading her books. This had Emma was the main character, and she gets an opportunity to work with a screenwriter who's writing his very first rom-com, and it's bad. And so she gets hired to help Charlie Yates fix his work, and drama ensues, but also hilarity, and it is super fun. I absolutely loved it. And I loved that Jack Stapleton from The Bodyguard and Hannah actually make an appearance in this one. So that was really fun to see them. So that was really great. The next book that I finished was The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I don't know how to say her last name. I loved this book. I read it for the Cupcakes and Chance book club that I am in. If you saw Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library's latest vlog, where she switched Kindles with Amber from Books and Beaches, she actually has some video of us waiting for everybody to arrive, which there were quite a few people there at that point where we were chatting in her video. Nobody was there yet. So it was a wonderful book to discuss. There is so much to discuss with this book. It's absolutely fabulous. It's based on Martha Ballard, who was an actual midwife in the 1700s and 1800s, and it's historical fiction, but very researched and so well written. Beautiful lyrical prose. Absolutely loved it. It was harrowing and infuriating at points when you think about the treatment of women during this time and how sometimes that is still happening in that same way. And it just is beautifully, beautifully done. One of the coolest things is that there was an actual midwife at the discussion, and she was talking about her experiences, and it was so cool to have this kind of 1700s point of view as well as a modern day point of view of midwifery, and it was really interesting, absolutely fascinating. I loved it. Also, short chapters, which was really good, really nice. I appreciated that. So I'm kind of sad that this is not a book on my shelves. This is a library book, but it's okay. I gotta get that sent back. The next book that I finished was Beneath Devil's Bridge by Lorith Ann White. And this was a book that was on my radar because I saw a booktuber do a try a chapter, and this was one of the books that she tried. And that booktuber is Danny's Reading Corner. And I'll have that video linked down below because it was a really fun video. I love try a chapters. I think they're my new favorite thing to watch, honestly, because you get little snippets of books and you can decide if they sound good to you or not. And this book, she described it so well, and I just was very, very interested from listening to her talk about it. I borrowed it right straight away from Kindle Unlimited. It was available as a reading and listening copy. I listened to it with my ears as I was reading with my eyeballs quite a bit of time. Every once in a while I was just, when I was driving, obviously I was only listening to it, but it starts with a murder in 1997 of Lena Ray, and 24 years later, there is a true crime podcaster, and she decides to do a true crime podcast about this murder because the person that was put away for the crime had confessed, but you never really knew why he did it. And so she starts drudging up this past, and there's still a lot of mystery behind it and what's happened, and it really just is so intriguing, and it was very suspenseful the entire time. I do want to say I hate student-teacher romantic relationship type tropes in books. I didn't realize that the person that was put away was actually a teacher at the school of the girl that was murdered, and that was a little bit rough for me, but I pushed through. Really glad that I did because I absolutely really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really was just hooked in it the entire time I was reading, and I really enjoyed that. It follows the point of view of the podcaster, Trinity, who is looking at it through a removed lens, and then it follows Rachel, who is the detective that was assigned the murder 24 years ago. It flashes back to the then and now when it comes to the detective, to Rachel. And it just, so much happens. It's so just all these pieces, and then they just finally all come together. There were some pieces that I thought were left unresolved, but there were so many things that were wrapped up so nicely. And I think in some ways that's a really big positive, that not everything was wrapped up nicely with a bow, but I think that it was also kind of a negative because there were some things that I wanted resolved that weren't. So that was the 6th book that I finished. The last book that I have finished in the month of July so far is Mistaken Identity Murder by Leslie Langtree. This is the, oh my gosh, 27th book in the Mary Wrath series. Every book keeps getting more and more ridiculous, and I am so here for every second. I love it. I laugh hysterically the entire time that I am reading these books. They are so fun. They're so crazy. Mary is a former CIA agent who gets outed for political reasons, and so she has to retire. So she's co-leading a Girl Scout troop with her best friend, and murders are just happening all over the place. And the last book, a museum actually was erected in the town of Who's There, Iowa, with all of the murders that she helped solve. And in this one, she actually is out to prove that she did not kill the person who is killed. And it's so ridiculous and so wonderful. And I love it. It's definitely not something that you want to start in the middle of, because the amount of ridiculousness might be a little jarring. If you're ready for it, you might love it, honestly, but it works up in terms of how ridiculous it is. In terms of how ridiculous it is, and I just love it. I am here for it. I will read every single one. I absolutely love it. So there's that. I'm currently actively reading 3 books. The first is The Beach Trap by Ali Brady. I started this because of my prompt card was to read a book that matched my outfit, and this color here matched some of the colors, complemented some of the colors that were on the shirt that I was wearing. I got 128 pages in it before, and that is about how far I am in this now in this second try. I'm really enjoying it. I have no idea why I stopped the first time, so glad that I picked it up again, glad that I'm giving it this second chance, and I'm really enjoying it. Another book that I'm reading is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This is a true crime. Michelle McNamara passed away actually while she was in the middle of writing this book, so some of it is pieced together with her notes. But it's really fascinating about the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer is the main focus of the book, but it also is kind of a memoir of how she became entrenched in true crime and why she loves it and is interested in it. And it really just kind of takes you on a ride. I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 50% done with that one, and it is really fascinating. I'm very much enjoying it. It's a little bit hard to read it sometimes because obviously there's crimes, bad things happening to good people, all those kinds of things, but it is also really fun. And then the other one that I'm reading is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is my book club book for this Thursday. I have to finish it by, but I really just kind of started it, so I will have to get going on that one. But I don't have any complaints so far, so I'm just gonna keep on reading and see where it takes me. So that's where I am on that. So that's what the first part of my July looked like. It was really fabulous. I think a 4 was the lowest rating that I gave, honestly, of these 7 books. I really have been enjoying my reading this month. I can't wait for more reading to come in the next couple weeks, and I am very excited for Catch-Up-a-thon in the first couple weeks of August. So excited, cannot wait. Let me know down in the comments what you read in the first part of July. Have you read any of these books? Did you like any of these books? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Commenting, liking, and subscribing really help my channel grow, and I so appreciate you for doing that. I hope you're finding something wonderful to read, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!